In the heart of a quiet rural town nestled at the edge of a vast forest, a sinister presence had long cast a shadow over the lives of the locals. Greg, a notorious thief, had ruled through fear and violence for as long as anyone could remember. His cunning and intimidation allowed him to take whatever he wanted, whenever he pleased, and no one dared to cross him. But even the most feared individuals can make mistakes, and Greg was no exception. On a cool autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows lengthened, Greg made a fateful decision that would set in motion a chain of events that would change the town forever. His target was a kind-hearted widow named Eliza, known throughout the community for her generosity and gentle spirit. Eliza lived alone on the outskirts of town, tending to her small garden and crafting beautiful quilts that she often gifted to those in need. Greg, driven by his insatiable greed, crept into Eliza's humble home under the cover of darkness. He moved silently, his eyes darting around the room in search of anything valuable. As he rummaged through her belongings, Eliza stirred from her sleep, catching a glimpse of the intruder. In a moment of panic, Greg lashed out, shoving Eliza to the ground before fleeing into the night with a handful of her most precious possessions. Little did he know that his actions would set off a chain reaction that would shake the very foundation of the town. As Greg vanished into the shadows, Eliza pulled herself to her feet, her heart racing with fear and disbelief. She had never imagined that she would fall victim to such a cruel act, and the realization left her feeling vulnerable and alone. But even in the midst of her shock and despair, Eliza knew that she could not let this moment define her. She had to find a way to move forward, to rebuild what had been taken from her. With a heavy heart, Eliza made her way to the small wooden chest that sat at the foot of her bed. Inside, nestled among the faded photographs and cherished mementos of her late husband, was a simple silver locket. It had been a gift from her mother on her wedding day, a symbol of the love and strength that had always guided her through life's challenges. As Eliza clasped the locket around her neck, she felt a flicker of determination spark to life within her. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that she would have to confront the darkness that had invaded her home and her life. But she also knew that she was not alone, that she had the love and support of her community to guide her through even the darkest of times. With a deep breath, Eliza stepped out into the night, ready to face whatever lay ahead. She knew that the journey would be long and the path uncertain, but she also knew that she had the strength and the courage to see it through. For in the end, it was not the things that Greg had stolen that mattered most, but the unbreakable bonds of love and compassion that held the town together, even in the face of the greatest adversity. As dawn broke over the sleepy town, news of the robbery spread like wildfire. Eliza, shaken but unharmed, shared her story with her neighbors, who listened with a mix of anger and disbelief. The audacity of Greg's actions had struck a nerve, and the community found itself united in its desire for justice. Among those who heard of Eliza's plight was Jack, the town's humble forest ranger. Jack was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes about his character. He was known for his deep connection to the woods and the creatures that called it home, and his unwavering commitment to protecting the innocent. Jack had grown up in the shadow of the forest, learning the ways of the wild from his father, who had been a ranger before him. From a young age, he had formed a special bond with a bear named Kodiak, who roamed the woods near the town. Kodiak was no ordinary bear. He possessed an uncanny intelligence and a fierce loyalty to those he trusted. Over the years, Jack and Kodiak had forged an unbreakable bond, communicating through a language that transcended words. When Jack learned of the injustice that had befallen Eliza, he knew that he could not stand idly by. He understood that Greg's actions were a symptom of a deeper problem that had long plagued the town, a lack of unity and a fear of standing up to those who sought to harm others. With a heavy heart, Jack set out into the woods, determined to track down Greg and bring him to justice. Little did he know that his journey would be one of transformation, not only for himself but for the entire town. As Jack made his way through the dense undergrowth, his mind raced with thoughts of the challenges that lay ahead. He knew that Greg was a cunning and dangerous adversary, one who would stop at nothing to evade capture. But Jack also knew that he had something that Greg did not: the support and trust of his community. With each step, Jack felt the weight of his responsibility bearing down upon him. He was not just a ranger, but a guardian, a protector of the innocent and the vulnerable. And he knew that he could not fail them, not now, not when so much was at stake. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Jack pressed on, his senses attuned to the slightest movement or sound that might betray Greg's presence. He knew that the thief was out there somewhere, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. But Jack was ready, his resolve unshakable in the face of the danger that lay ahead. And so he walked on, into the heart of the forest, guided by the knowledge that he was not alone, that he had the strength and the courage of his community behind him. For in the end, it was not just about bringing Greg to justice, but about standing up for what was right, about fighting for a better, brighter future for all those who called the town home. As Jack ventured deeper into the forest, he found himself lost in thought, pondering the events that had led him to this moment. He had always known that there was more to life than the simple routines of his daily existence, but he had never imagined that he would find himself at the center of a struggle that would define the future of his community. The woods were alive with the sounds of nature, the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of birds filling the air. Jack moved with purpose, his keen eyes scanning the undergrowth for any sign of Greg's passing. It was then that he felt a familiar presence, a tingling sensation at the back of his neck that could only mean one thing: Kodiak was near. Jack paused, his hand resting on the rough bark of a nearby tree, and waited. Moments later, the bear emerged from the shadows, his massive form dwarfing Jack's own. Kodiak's eyes, a deep amber that seemed to hold the secrets of the forest, locked with Jack's, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. Jack knew that Kodiak had sensed the injustice that had been done, and that the bear would stop at nothing to help him set things right. Together, they set off deeper into the woods, their bond stronger than ever in the face of the challenges that lay ahead. As they walked, Jack's mind drifted back to the town, to the people he had sworn to protect. He thought of Eliza, of the pain and the fear that must have gripped her in the aftermath of the robbery. He thought of the children who played in the streets, their laughter and their joy a reminder of the innocence that he fought to preserve. And he thought of the darkness that had crept into their lives, the shadow of greed and violence that threatened to tear their community apart. Jack knew that he could not let that happen, that he had to find a way to bring light back into the world, to inspire hope and courage in the hearts of those who had lost their way. With each step, Jack felt his resolve growing stronger, his determination to see justice done burning brighter than ever before. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he also knew that he had the strength and the courage to face whatever lay ahead. And so he pressed on, guided by the unwavering belief that good would always triumph over evil, that love and compassion would always find a way to shine through even the darkest of times. For in the end, it was not just about catching a thief or righting a wrong, but about building a better world, one where all could live in peace and harmony, free from the chains of fear and oppression. Meanwhile, back in town, the locals were grappling with the aftermath of Greg's actions. Eliza, still reeling from the violation of her home and the loss of her cherished possessions, found solace in the support of her neighbors. One by one, they arrived at her doorstep, bearing gifts of food, clothing, and kind words. Among them was Sarah, the town's elderly librarian, who had known Eliza since childhood. Sarah's eyes sparkled with wisdom as she took Eliza's hand in her own, offering a gentle smile. "My dear," Sarah began, her voice soft yet firm, "this town has seen its share of darkness, but it is in times like these that we must remember the power of unity. We are stronger together than we ever could be alone." Eliza nodded, tears welling up in her eyes as she felt the warmth of Sarah's words wash over her. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but with the support of her community, she felt a glimmer of hope that had been absent in the wake of Greg's betrayal. As the day wore on, the town buzzed with activity. Neighbors came together, sharing stories and making plans to ensure that nothing like this would ever happen again. They knew that change would not come easily, but they were determined to fight for the future they believed in. a future where kindness, resilience, and justice would prevail. In the midst of the chaos, a young boy named Timmy found himself drawn to Eliza's garden, a small patch of earth that had always seemed to radiate a sense of peace and tranquility. As he knelt down to examine the delicate flowers that bloomed there, he noticed something glinting in the sunlight, a small silver key, half buried in the soil. Timmy's heart raced as he reached out to pick up the key, his mind spinning with possibilities. He knew that it must have belonged to Eliza, that it must have been lost in the struggle with Greg. And he knew that he had to return it to her, to do his part in helping to make things right. With the key clutched tightly in his hand, Timmy raced through the streets, his feet carrying him toward Eliza's house with a sense of urgency and purpose. When he arrived, he found her sitting on her porch, her eyes distant and her face lined with worry. "Miss Eliza," Timmy called out, his voice trembling with excitement, "I found something in your garden. I think it might be important." Eliza looked up, her eyes widening as she saw the key in Timmy's outstretched hand. For a moment, she was speechless, overcome with emotion at the sight of the small, precious object that had once belonged to her husband. "Thank you, Timmy," she whispered, her voice choked with tears. "You have no idea how much this means to me." And as she took the key from Timmy's hand, Eliza felt a surge of strength and determination wash over her. She knew that the key was more than just a piece of metal, that it was a symbol of the love and the memories that had sustained her through even the darkest of times. With a deep breath, Eliza stood up, her eyes shining with a newfound sense of purpose. She knew that the journey ahead would be long and difficult, but she also knew that she had the strength and the courage to see it through. For in the end, it was not just about reclaiming what had been lost, but about building something new, something better, something that would stand the test of time and shine as a beacon of hope for generations to come. Deep in the heart of the forest, Jack and Kodiak pressed on, their senses attuned to the slightest movement or sound that might betray Greg's presence. The thief, for his part, was growing increasingly desperate, realizing that his actions had set in motion a chain of events that he could no longer control. Greg had always relied on his cunning and intimidation to get what he wanted, but as he fled deeper into the woods, he began to feel a creeping sense of unease. The forest seemed to close in around him, the shadows growing longer and more menacing with each passing hour. As night fell, Greg found himself huddled beneath a rocky overhang, his ill-gotten gains clutched tightly to his chest. He had never been one to question his actions, but as he sat there, alone and shivering in the darkness, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had crossed a line from which there was no return. Little did he know that Jack and Kodiak were closing in, their determination fueled by a sense of justice that burned brightly within them. They moved through the night, guided by the stars and the whispers of the wind, drawing ever closer to their quarry. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the trees, Jack caught a glimpse of movement in the distance, a flash of color that stood out against the muted greens and browns of the forest floor. His heart raced as he realized that it was Greg, his form barely visible through the dense undergrowth. Jack signaled to Kodiak, and together they crept forward, their footsteps silent against the soft earth. They knew that they had to be careful, that Greg was a dangerous and unpredictable foe. But they also knew that they had the element of surprise on their side, that they had the strength and the courage to see this through to the end. As they drew closer, Jack could see the fear in Greg's eyes, the desperation that had driven him to this point. For a moment, he felt a flicker of pity for the man, a sense of sadness for the choices that had led him down this dark and twisted path. But then he remembered Eliza, remembered the pain and the fear that Greg had inflicted upon her and upon the entire town. And he knew that there could be no mercy, no forgiveness for the crimes that had been committed. With a deep breath, Jack stepped out from the shadows, his voice ringing out clear and strong in the morning air. "Greg," he called out, his tone firm and unwavering, "it's over. You have nowhere left to run." For a moment, Greg seemed to hesitate, his eyes darting from side to side as if searching for some means of escape. But then he saw Kodiak, saw the fierce determination in the bear's eyes, and he knew that the game was up. Slowly, Greg raised his hands in surrender, the stolen goods falling to the ground at his feet. And as Jack stepped forward to take him into custody, he felt a sense of relief wash over him, a sense of closure that had been long in coming. For he knew that this was just the beginning, that there was still much work to be done in order to heal the wounds that Greg had inflicted upon the town. But he also knew that they had taken the first step, that they had shown the world that justice and compassion would always triumph in the end. And so, with Greg in tow, Jack and Kodiak made their way back to the town, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For they knew that they had the strength and the courage to build a better world, a world where all could live in peace and harmony, free from the chains of fear and oppression. Back in town, the seeds of change were beginning to take root. Eliza, bolstered by the support of her neighbors, had begun to see her experience in a new light. Rather than allowing Greg's actions to define her, she chose to focus on the love and kindness that had surrounded her in the aftermath of the robbery. She found herself spending more time with Sarah, the wise librarian who had become a source of comfort and guidance. Together, they hatched a plan to create a community garden, a symbol of growth and resilience in the face of adversity. As word of the project spread, more and more people began to get involved. They came from all walks of life, young and old, rich and poor, united by a common desire to make their town a better place. They worked side by side, tilling the soil and planting seeds, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Among them was Tom, a young man who had always kept to himself, struggling to find his place in the world. But as he worked alongside his neighbors, he began to feel a sense of belonging that he had never known before. He found himself opening up, sharing his hopes and dreams with those around him, and for the first time in his life, he felt truly seen. As the garden began to take shape, the town itself seemed to undergo a transformation. The once empty streets were now filled with people, their faces alight with purpose and joy. They had found something worth fighting for, and they knew that together, they could weather any storm. But even as the town celebrated its newfound sense of unity, a dark cloud loomed on the horizon. Word had spread of Greg's capture, and many feared that his allies might seek revenge upon those who had brought him to justice. Eliza, however, refused to let fear control her life any longer. She knew that the only way to truly defeat the darkness was to shine a light so bright that it could not be ignored. And so, with the help of her neighbors, she began to plan a grand celebration, a festival that would showcase the best of what their town had to offer. They worked tirelessly, pouring their hearts and souls into every detail, from the colorful decorations that lined the streets to the delicious food that filled the air with its tantalizing aromas. As the day of the festival drew near, the town was abuzz with excitement. Everywhere you looked, people were hard at work, hanging streamers, setting up booths, and preparing food and drinks to share with their neighbors. The air was filled with the sound of laughter and music, a joyful cacophony that seemed to chase away the shadows of the past. At the center of it all was the community garden, now a lush oasis of green and color. The once barren patch of earth had been transformed into a symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to the power of unity and compassion. As the festival began, people from all over the town and beyond began to stream into the streets, drawn by the promise of good food, good company, and a chance to celebrate all that they had accomplished together. There were games and contests, live performances and art displays, all showcasing the diverse talents and passions of the community. But the true highlight of the day came when Eliza took the stage, her eyes shining with tears of joy and gratitude. She spoke of the challenges they had faced, of the pain and the fear that had once threatened to tear them apart. But she also spoke of the love and the kindness that had brought them together, of the unbreakable bonds of community that had seen them through even the darkest of times. As she spoke, the crowd fell silent, hanging on her every word. And when she finished, the applause that erupted was deafening, a roar of approval and appreciation that seemed to shake the very foundations of the town. And in that moment, as the sun began to set over the festival grounds, casting a warm, golden glow over the scene, everyone knew that they had been a part of something truly special. They had come together in the face of adversity, had fought for a better future, and had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. As the festival drew to a close and the last of the revelers made their way home, Jack and Kodiak found themselves alone in the community garden, surrounded by the fruits of their labor. The once overgrown patch of earth was now a testament to the power of hard work and dedication, a symbol of the transformation that had taken place within the town itself. As they sat there, enjoying the peace and quiet of the evening, Jack couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. He thought back to the day when he had first set out to capture Greg, to the fear and uncertainty that had gripped the town in the wake of the robbery. But he also thought of the courage and the resilience that had emerged in the face of that fear, of the way that the community had come together to support one another and to fight for a better future. And he knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would always have the strength and the determination to overcome them. As the night wore on and the stars began to emerge in the sky above, Jack and Kodiak made their way back into the forest, their hearts full of hope and gratitude. They knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be obstacles and setbacks along the way. But they also knew that they had something that could never be taken away from them: the love and support of their community, the unbreakable bonds of friendship and compassion that had seen them through even the darkest of times. And so, as they disappeared into the shadows of the forest, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, they did so with a sense of purpose and determination, secure in the knowledge that they were not alone, that they had the strength and the courage to build a better world for themselves and for all those who would come after them. In the weeks and months that followed, the town continued to thrive, buoyed by the spirit of unity and compassion that had taken root during the festival. The community garden became a central gathering place, a symbol of the transformation that had taken place within the hearts and minds of the people. Eliza, once a victim of Greg's cruelty, had emerged as a leader and a visionary, inspiring those around her with her unwavering commitment to justice and compassion. She worked tirelessly to build bridges between the various factions within the town, to heal the wounds of the past and to create a brighter future for all. Sarah, the wise librarian, had become a mentor to the younger generation, sharing her knowledge and her wisdom with all who sought her guidance. She taught them the value of education and the power of the written word, helping them to find their own voices and to tell their own stories. Tom, the once shy young man, had found his calling as a teacher, working with the children of the town to help them discover their own strengths and passions. He taught them the importance of creativity and self-expression, encouraging them to dream big and to never give up on their hopes and aspirations. And Jack and Kodiak, the town's protectors, continued to watch over the community, their bond stronger than ever. They patrolled the streets and the forests, keeping the peace and ensuring that no one would ever again have to live in fear of those who sought to do them harm. But even as the town basked in the glow of its newfound prosperity and unity, there were still challenges to be faced. The scars left by Greg's reign of terror could not be erased overnight, and there were some who struggled to let go of the pain and the anger of the past. And so, the community came together once again, determined to build a better world for themselves and for future generations. They worked to create programs and initiatives that would address the root causes of poverty and injustice, that would provide opportunities for all to thrive and succeed. They built schools and community centers, parks and playgrounds, all designed to foster a sense of belonging and connection among the people of the town. And they did so with a spirit of joy and celebration, knowing that every small act of kindness and compassion had the power to change the world. As the years passed and the town continued to flourish, Jack and Kodiak found themselves reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. They had seen the worst of human nature, had witnessed the cruelty and the greed that could drive people to commit unspeakable acts. But they had also seen the best of humanity, the kindness and the compassion that could emerge in the face of even the greatest adversity. They had seen the power of community, the strength that could be found in unity and solidarity. And as they looked out over the town that had become their home, they knew that they had been a part of something truly special. They had helped to build a better world, a world where all could live in peace and harmony, free from the chains of fear and oppression. But even as they celebrated their achievements, they knew that the work was far from over. There would always be those who sought to sow discord and division, who sought to exploit the vulnerable and the marginalized for their own gain. And so, Jack and Kodiak made a solemn vow, a promise to always stand on the side of justice and compassion, to always fight for those who could not fight for themselves. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, that there would be setbacks and challenges along the way. But they also knew that they had the strength and the courage to see it through, to build a world where all could live in dignity and respect, where every person had the opportunity to reach their full potential. And as they set out on their next adventure, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, they did so with a sense of hope and determination, secure in the knowledge that they were not alone, that they had the love and support of their community behind them every step of the way. Years turned into decades, and the town continued to thrive under the leadership of Eliza and the guidance of Jack and Kodiak. The community garden had grown into a sprawling oasis, a testament to the power of collective action and shared purpose. But even as the town celebrated its many successes, there were still those who struggled, who felt left behind by the rapid pace of change and progress. Among them was a young woman named Lily, who had grown up in the shadow of poverty and neglect, never knowing the love and support of a true community. Lily had always felt like an outsider, like she didn't quite belong in the bright and shining world that the town had become. She spent her days wandering the streets, lost in her own thoughts and dreams, yearning for something more. It was on one of these wanderings that she stumbled upon the community garden, now a lush and verdant paradise filled with the sounds of laughter and the scent of blooming flowers. And as she stood there, taking in the beauty and the tranquility of the scene, she felt a flicker of hope stir within her heart. Slowly, tentatively, Lily began to explore the garden, marveling at the rich tapestry of colors and textures that surrounded her. She ran her fingers over the soft petals of a rose, breathed in the sweet fragrance of a jasmine vine, and felt a sense of peace and belonging wash over her. And as she wandered deeper into the garden, she came upon a small, secluded corner, a place where the light filtered through the leaves in dappled patterns, and the air was filled with the gentle hum of bees and butterflies. There, in that quiet and sacred space, Lily found herself face to face with Eliza, now an old woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. And in that moment, as their eyes met and their hearts connected, Lily knew that she had found something that she had been searching for her entire life: a sense of home, of family, of belonging. From that day forward, Lily became a constant presence in the community garden, working alongside Eliza and the others to tend to the plants and the flowers, to nurture the seeds of hope and resilience that had been planted so many years ago. She learned the stories of the town's past, of the struggles and the triumphs that had shaped its character and its spirit. She learned of the bravery of Jack and Kodiak, of the wisdom of Sarah, and of the compassion and leadership of Eliza. And as she worked and learned and grew, Lily began to feel a sense of purpose and direction that had always eluded her. She saw the power of community, the strength that could be found in unity and solidarity, and she knew that she wanted to be a part of something bigger than herself. With Eliza's guidance and support, Lily began to take on more responsibility within the garden, organizing events and activities that brought people together and fostered a sense of connection and belonging. She reached out to those who were struggling, offering them the same love and support that she had found in the garden. And as the years passed and the town continued to evolve and grow, Lily emerged as a leader in her own right, a champion of justice and compassion who carried on the legacy of those who had come before her. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would always be challenges and obstacles to overcome. But she also knew that she had the strength and the courage to face them head-on, to fight for a better world for herself and for all those who would come after her. And so, as she looked out over the garden that had become her home, her sanctuary, and her inspiration, Lily felt a sense of hope and determination wash over her. She knew that, no matter what the future might hold, she would always have the love and support of her community, the unbreakable bonds of friendship and compassion that had seen them through even the darkest of times. As Lily continued to grow and thrive within the community, she began to notice a change in the town around her. The once vibrant streets were beginning to show signs of wear and tear, and there was a growing sense of unease among the people. At first, Lily tried to ignore the signs, focusing instead on her work in the garden and her efforts to build a stronger, more resilient community. But as the weeks turned into months and the sense of unease continued to grow, She knew that she could no longer turn a blind eye to the problems that were brewing just beneath the surface. She began to hear whispers of a new threat, a shadowy figure who was said to be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Some said that he was a former associate of Greg's, seeking revenge for the downfall of his former boss. Others claimed that he was a new kind of predator altogether, one who preyed on the weak and the vulnerable, exploiting their fears and insecurities for his own gain. Lily knew that she had to act, that she could not sit idly by while her beloved community was threatened once again. And so, with the help of Eliza and the others, she began to organize a resistance, a grassroots movement that would stand up to the forces of darkness and oppression. They reached out to the young and the old, the rich and the poor, anyone who was willing to stand up and fight for what they believed in. They held meetings and rallies, marches and demonstrations, all designed to show the world that they would not be intimidated, that they would not back down in the face of adversity. And as the movement grew and gained momentum, Lily began to see a change in the town once again. The streets were filled with a new kind of energy, a sense of purpose and determination that had been missing for far too long. People from all walks of life came together, united by a common cause and a shared vision of a better future. They worked to build bridges between the various factions within the town, to heal the wounds of the past and to create a brighter tomorrow for all. And at the center of it all was Lily, now a leader and a visionary in her own right, inspiring those around her with her unwavering commitment to justice and compassion. She knew that the fight was far from over, that there would be many more battles to come. But she also knew that she had the strength and the courage to see it through, to build a world where all could live in peace and harmony, free from the chains of fear and oppression. And with that knowledge, she set out to face whatever challenges lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that she was not alone, that she had the love and support of her community behind her every step of the way. In the end, it was not a single battle or a solitary hero that saved the town from the forces of darkness and oppression. It was the collective strength and resilience of the community itself, the unbreakable bonds of love and compassion that had been forged through years of struggle and sacrifice. Lily and her allies had faced many challenges and setbacks along the way, had known moments of fear and doubt and despair. But through it all, they had held fast to their beliefs, to their vision of a better world for themselves and for all those who would come after them. And now, as the sun rose over the town on a new day, casting its warm and golden light over the streets and the gardens and the forests beyond, they knew that they had achieved something truly remarkable. They had built a community that was stronger and more resilient than ever before, a place where all could live in dignity and respect, where every person had the opportunity to reach their full potential. As Lily stood in the heart of the garden, surrounded by the fruits of their labor and the love of her friends and neighbors, she felt a sense of pride and accomplishment wash over her. She knew that there would always be challenges and obstacles to overcome, that the work of building a better world was never truly finished. But she also knew that they had laid the foundation for a brighter future, that they had planted the seeds of hope and resilience that would continue to grow and flourish for generations to come. And with that knowledge, she felt a sense of peace and contentment that had always eluded her, a feeling of belonging and purpose that would stay with her for the rest of her days. As she looked out over the town that had become her home, her sanctuary, and her inspiration, Lily knew that she had been a part of something truly special. She had helped to build a better world, a world where all could live in harmony and compassion, where every person had the chance to thrive and succeed. And so, with a smile on her face and a song in her heart, Lily set out to face the new day, ready to embrace whatever challenges and opportunities it might bring. For she knew that, no matter what the future might hold, she would always have the strength and the courage to see it through, to fight for what she believed in, and to make a difference in the world around her. And as she walked through the streets of the town, greeting her friends and neighbors with a warm smile and a kind word, Lily felt a sense of hope and determination wash over her. She knew that the journey ahead would be long and difficult, that there would be many more battles to fight and many more obstacles to overcome. But she also knew that she was not alone, that she had the love and support of her community behind her every step of the way. And with that knowledge, she felt a sense of invincibility, a feeling that anything was possible if they only had the courage to dream it and the determination to make it a reality. And so, As the story of the town and its people continued to unfold, Lily knew that she would always be a part of it, a testament to the power of love and compassion, of hope and resilience in the face of even the greatest adversity. For in the end, it was not the destination that mattered, but the journey itself, and the bonds of friendship and solidarity that had been forged along the way. The end.